we're back on the air. Remember, you can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com. Please take a moment and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. Follow us on Twitter at SellRestaurants. And of course, we're on LinkedIn as well. We Sell Restaurant is your industry authority and source for information. And we are the restaurant broker, Eric and Robin Gagnon, talking about menu development today with two great guests.
Yes, we have on the air with us today Chef Randolph and also Dr. Dubost. And we have been talking about menu development from the standpoint of allergens and gluten-free. But one important element we haven't discussed yet is what about those of us just watching our waistline? We want to go eat and we want something fabulous, but we don't want those calories to stack up. Dr. Dubost, how do you weigh in on that matter?
Sure. So we do know that's another big trend, and many restaurants are actually approaching this by just cutting the portions or having half portions for a smaller price, or actually creating these small plate sharing experiences, which can also limit the calories. Other restaurants are actually choosing to define what that would be, meaning from a caloric standpoint. So you've probably seen where some restaurants are offering dinner options or lunch options for less than 600 calories. So, I mean, I would recommend that typically it's like 600 to 750 calories to try to keep the meal under that. And that's, a rather simple approach versus just focusing on everything, which can be overwhelming, like sodium and fat, where you just limit the calories to be less than a certain number.
Okay, Chef, what are your thoughts on that lower calorie topic? Is it possible to get a great tasting meal for under 650 calories? And by the way, that's not a low number because an average woman, is probably eating about 12 to 1,400 calories. So managing a restaurant meal into that number is still pretty tough.
Yes, it is a very very high number. But if you break it down for the everyday person or the ongoing person, a lot of people these days don't eat 3 to 5 balanced meals, and a male or a female is somewhere around between 1,500 and 2,000 calories. When a lot of these national accounts do the calorie breakdowns with these half sandwiches and cups of soup, a lot of the times you're getting the more nutritious ingredients that the restaurants offer. So it's never fried, it's never heavily seasoned, it's never too sauced. So not only does it help you fuel up on better quality food, they're just making you aware of how many calories you're having at that particular meal.
Now, I always worry, Dr. Dubost, when I see those calorie counts. Are they real? Can you count on them if they're saying that half sandwich and soup? I'm just worried somebody different's going to make it and they're going to load on the oil and it's going to actually exceed that number.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, and we need to be aware that menu labeling from a federal standpoint is coming out any day now. So restaurants with 20 or more locations will have to start listing calories on the menu along with other nutrition information that will be available upon request. So with that, restaurants right now are really ramping up their efforts to ensure that the staff is trained and that they've done their due diligence in analyzing their menu options. But, I think it's also important to know that, yes, there is variability in preparing those menu options. I mean, think about your own kitchen. If you were to make one meal each day, the same meal, would you always have the same amount of calories? Probably not. So there will be a little bit of variability within what's declared and versus actual. But I think you can feel confident as a consumer that restaurants want to provide that helpful dining experience and ensure that what they're saying is what they're delivering.
Chef Randolph, from a application standpoint, I mean, you take a Chipotle, Moe's, or people like that where, you go through the line and there's a different person, Robin's Point, every day that just puts a bit more cheese or less tomatoes or more beans. How do you prevent that from, or do you maintain consistency to be really close to whatever you're going to be disclosing under federal law?
Well, a lot of the restaurant chains use measuring devices such as Chipotle, and you notice they use a spoodle or a measuring cup when they're portioning. But the other side of it falls on to the consumer. They just need to be aware of what they're eating. If they notice that there's too much cheese, somewhere like the Chipotle or a Subway, they could say, hey, can you half that cheese or whatever that is. I believe consumers are smarter sometimes than we give them credit for. And they're aware if there's too much butter on the bread or, instead of 4 ounces of turkey, they put on 8 ounces of turkey. I believe consumer, has a stake in the game as well.
I think that's true, and I believe that consumers are just much more exacting and much more in touch with their health than one would believe, and I believe that transfers to their kids. And we talked a little about kids menus, but in terms of importance, how do you rank getting that kids menu right as against the other requirements? So we've got to get our baseline menu right. We've got to potentially address food allergens for food issues like being gluten-free and avoiding peanuts. And then we've got our kids menu as well. How do you prioritize those offerings? I'll start with you, Dr. DeVoe.
Well, to your point, kids nutrition is a very hot trend, and I think, again, it's here to stay. The National Restaurant Association launched a national program called Kids Live Well, which ensures that healthful options that are provided on a kids menu meet defined nutrition criteria. It's been a wonderful, successful program. I would encourage you to go to our website, restaurant.org, and learn all about the program, as we have right now close to 50,000 restaurant locations participating.
Wow, that's a big number. Chef, why don't you weigh in quickly?
You know, what's special about the kids programs of most of the restaurant chains is that they're separate ingredients. So, for example, if it's a cheese quesadilla or a chicken quesadilla, the kid portion would be in a 6-inch tortilla versus an 8 or a 10. So it almost puts the back of the house or the restaurant in a position where they have to be more exacting with a kid's portion, just because a lot of products are brought in, especially for the kids' menus.
And Dr. DeVoe, you mentioned a couple of resources today, and I just want to make sure everybody knows. Can you go ahead and give us quickly just the website address where folks can learn about the Surf Safe Allergen Program and also the Kids Live Well program one more time?
Sure. So for the Kids Live Well program, it's www.restaurant.org, and you will see the Kids Live Well link. And then for Surf Safe Allergen Program, you would actually go to the Surf Safe site. So that's servsafe.com/allergens, and that will give you all the information you need.
That's perfect. Thank you both so much. And I think that's going to wrap up the time that we have today. We have been talking about menu development. You're on the air with the Restaurant Brokers. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon from We Sell Restaurants. We Sell Restaurants operates the largest restaurant brokerage firm in the country. That's based on the number of listings, transaction count, and volume. We are franchising nationwide and have offices in Florida, Colorado, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. Join us each week on the radio when we take on the trends affecting the restaurant industry. Hold on for the break. We'll be back with Restaurant Reality.